So hello everyone, today is all about God of War.
Or Dad of Boy, as the internet is gladly naming the game.
Dad of Boy.
Dad of Boy.
I like that a lot.
Boy.
Indeed.
Starring
Christopher Judge as Kratos, Sonny Suljic as Atreus, Jeremy Davis as the Stranger, but then also Bolden, Daniel Bisutti as Freya, Alistair Duncan, not the ACS sport man, as Mimir, Robert Craighead as Brock, Adam J. Harrington as Sindri, Troy Baker as Magni,
Troy Baker,
who's like a big voice actor, and Nolan North as Modi.
That was Troy Baker and Nathan. The two big names in the last couple of years of voice acting and gaming.
Nolan North than this, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he was one of the. Was he the guy that survived the first fight?
Muddy.
He was like the smaller one.
Yeah,
the smaller, stockier one.
We kill Nolan North first, I think. The blonde-haired one. We kill.
No, I think we kill Magni first, don't we?
Maybe we do. I think Magni is. They both die pretty quickly on.
Yeah, but
spoilers, by the way.
But well, yeah. I mean, anyone who listens to our podcast will know that every time we do something, watch or play the thing before.
I put a massive spoiler.
Did you?
Tag, and you should watch the video now. You'll see it. Yeah.
All right, go. Yeah, no, those two have been battling it out for like the big name of voice acting for quite a while now.
Nolan North was playing the second best mocap actor in the world in Conman, Jerry Lansing, behind Andy Serkis.
Not biased at all, are you, Yann?
Yeah, it's weird because you don't recognize his voice at all anywhere except in Conman, where he does his own. That's him talking about voice acting. It's quite.
That's skill for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why did we decide? Well, so I got because I always boycott. I had this massive boycott PS4 thingy that I talked about a few times. And I saw this coming, so I said, okay, now it's the time. And it was a surprise. I told you during the network episode.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, it arrived. It's there now. It's there. And we played extensively. And it was, just like Mjolnir, worthy enough so that we wanted to do an episode on it.
Yeah, the last time we touched the video game one was when we did with Laura with Super Mario Odyssey, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that game was more difficult to talk about because it was a Mario game, you know, like there isn't like a narrative and we didn't really know how we're doing it. But quickly, as we started playing this, I think all three of us realised that, this is something else. This is definitely warrants a conversation for sure. So I'll start off the conversation with how do you guys know God of War before this arrived? Did either of you play any of the previous? I'm looking at Anouk here. Did you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend earlier on that played God of War?
No, never. I'd never even heard of it. Yes, I've watched many a game with a boyfriend, but not God of War.
What about you, Yann?
I remembered I played all of them before, but just a few hours, and checking in the trophies on the PS4. They had the history of all the trophies, and I had God of War Ascension, God of War 2, and 3. Not the first one, I don't think.
They remastered that for the PlayStation, for the PS3, but it's like one of those bundle together packages.
Yeah.
I was too young. When the first two came out on PS2, I was way too young to play them, and again I was not old enough to play God of War 3 when it came out on the PS3 because I was still at high school. I mean, I could have. My mum was very reluctant to let me play 18 games or watch 18 films for a long time, which is fair enough because there's a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been playing, but she deliberately stopped me playing stuff. I remember I got a shot of a Tony Hawk game when I was like 8, and because it featured drug talk at some point, my mum was like, "Nah, you're not playing this," and then it got locked away for like a couple of years, and then I got it back. My friend Gregor, I remember his mum was always. Actually, we'll have Gregor and Michael on later on. They're the drummer and bass player for Dancing on Tables.
Mm-hmm. They're doing so well.
Yeah, they really are. Today, I think Gregor just handed in his dissertation, so I believe I can now talk to him about let's get a date set, which is exciting. Anyway, his mum was like really kind of against like super violent video games, and she happened to walk in when he was playing Call of Duty World at War. At the one section where you have to shoot a dog, and she was like, "I'm not having this," and got really mad at him for a bit.
Oh, bless. Yeah.
I'll move the camera a bit because you're a bit eccentered. So just continue without me for a minute.
All right.
No, how can we do that?
All right. So, I remember a tiny bit of hype for this game, just a tiny bit, because I remember I got announced at E3 and we got like the trailer, and it was completely different from any other God of War game. Like it looked distinctly different. And I think that's a major theme going into the rest of this episode and the actual game itself, that it's totally different from any other God of War game so far. I mean, I showed you yesterday because we knew we'd be doing this episode, the first 10 minutes of God of War 3. So.
Oh yeah, so it's completely different. It's like you see the whole frame rather than it's like a camera behind someone, but behind Kratos. It's like you see the whole.
Well, it's fixed. It's a well, not fixed camera, but it's positioned in specific places to like you see more around you, because it was God of War essentially was a hack and slash game.
Right, but I mean the camera's like over. It's
very
like overhead.
Very cinematic.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. Rather than like following Kratos and like over the shoulder shot. Again, I don't know any of the
the lingo
or whatever's going on, so I'll probably talk like, you know, how I would about film.
Yeah, which is quite a good note, because this game features no cuts.
Yeah, one long take.
One long take. It's
very like Victoria.
Very much. Yeah.
20 hours.
Or Russian
film.
Yeah. And it was actually really nice to watch a game without any like loading time. I mean, obviously when you die, which happened a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so that was actually really nice. And usually you have like a loading screen after you open a door, or
if you're going to a different place, they would stick a loading screen on.
But it just kind of kept going, which was quite nice.
I mean, I was jumping between 3 games at the time while we were playing this. So I started off playing Shadow of War, right? And then when it arrived, there was also the Uncharted series. I'm like, oh, I love Uncharted. I'm going to show Anouk Uncharted as well. So we were jumping between this, Shadow of War, and Uncharted. And slowly, our lives just got consumed by God of War. Very slowly, we were like, you want to keep playing God of War? I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we would just spend so much time just on that exclusive one.
Yeah.
And I went back to Shadow of War recently, and the load times in that game are just shockingly long I'm like, God, hurry up. Like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah.
Like The Witch is quite long as well.
Although now that we've got the Xbox One X, the loading screens are a lot quicker because it's faster. But I've started playing that again.
I just think it looked really good.
Oh yeah.
Like the world design was amazing, and like just the color schemes that they were using was just like so vibrant and just amazing to look at. It was like what you're watching a film. It's like amazing what game designers can do these days. It's just getting crazy.
It's the first time. So when I was in Naples, I played World of Warcraft for 3 years, but mainly my thing that was doing mostly is hunt boars and skin rabbits and collect pets and stuff. I didn't really care. It was just like to spend time. It's probably, if memory serves, the very first time ever that I actually cared about the story.
Really? In any game?
Yeah. Yeah, I never really listened or cared about any other story anywhere before.
Wow, that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, that is. That's something to put down in the review section.
I mean, this game is kind of getting compared to The Last of Us, which is the latest Naughty Dog game after Uncharted, which is, I haven't played, but I've seen enough, and I'm like, yeah, that's a very narrative-driven experience. And so is this, actually. This is very much, gameplay is almost second to the story in this sense, I feel.
Yeah, and like, for example, in the beginning, I mean, we were listening to a review last night, and the guy didn't like it as much, and he was saying that it's because it's quite slow in the beginning, because it's all about kind of character building, characterization, and world building and all that kind of stuff. So I was super enjoying it because, I mean, I didn't enjoy Uncharted as much because it's all about fighting, and that's really boring to watch. Like after a while, like I always had like a book or had work to do. So like that was actually amazing for me, and I think because it was so pretty, that added to the story.
Yeah, definitely.
You didn't mind watching it because it was like a film.
You really do feel for these people. I mean, the recurring bit in the game is that Kratos goes to try and touch Atreus, and throughout the game you eventually get to that point. It's like the relationship turns to this, which is nice. You don't usually get that arcing story. Usually something falls down, like it'll set up nicely and then it'll lose along the way, but this was a consistently well told story throughout.
Yeah,
and bits of jelly beans, like the arrow, everything was put in there and came back later. It was put and placed there for some very specific reason, which came back afterwards, not like Claudette and her cancer. Like,
yes, the room reference.
I definitely have breast cancer.
Yeah,
that's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Next scene.
This game I don't really remember if the other iterations of the game had different difficulties, but this one you have either give me a story, which is basically if you just like me want to enjoy without any much of a challenge the storyline, if you want to enjoy that, then give me a balanced experience, so it's a bit more difficult, but it's the balance between hard combat and story. Then give me a challenge. That's where I started like that. We only had one session on the PS4, and I started like that. I tried like 5 minutes. I kept dying, so it was annoying. So I handed the controller to Adam, and I just watched and waited a few days to create my another session so he could actually continue with his own stuff. And I did and finished the Give Me a Story first. So the other one, Give Me God of War, is the last one, which is you can't. So between the three first difficulties, you can switch between them at your leisure, really. But if you start the most difficult one, which is you have to be Kratos to actually finish that game.
So I started on Give Me. I tested it out for this episode to say, all right. Because I figured, I'm like, me and Anouk enjoyed this experience so much that later in the line we'll probably go back and play through together again on Give Me God of War and talk about things we see during it, like, a Let's Play-esque streamed. Because Yann did that for the story and it looked quite fun. I'm like, why don't we give that a go? Anyway, so it's tough. It's super difficult. I got to the first fight with Baldur and I was like, oh, this is going to be a really tough game. It is super brutal because even on Give Me a Challenge mode, there are moments where you find enemies in the world that are higher level than you, and if they hit you, you're dead. In Give Me God of War mode, it's like 3-4 hits and you're gone. If that. Maybe 2 or 3. You've got to be good at the game.
Yeah, the difficulty gives you more leeway. Like, I know I was hit. I died during the story one, but I was hit like constantly. So obviously I died because my life meter obviously stopped. But I finished in Give Me a Story, and I, without any real challenge, but just I wanted to enjoy the story really. And I restarted in immersive mode the balance experience. And as I prefer to know where I'm going before, that's why I did the first difficulty. It was kind of a challenge, the balance one, but I had my heart beating a few times. I knew, but yeah, also immersive means that there is no heads-up display. You don't know what your life is, what the life of the Valkyries are. You don't know anything, so you have to actually focus on what you're doing.
I mean,
whoa.
The difficulty is there's a difference between when developers make the game more difficult just for difficulty's sake. For example, in The Witcher, I'm currently playing on the hardest difficulty mode because I've played the game before. I'm good enough at this game to just go back in at the beginning and work my way up again, right? But what they do is instead of making you stronger and like the enemies hard, like, you know, your attacks do more damage, essentially what they do in the more difficult modes is make the enemies have stronger health and more resistance to your attacks, which is a bit annoying because you're like, surely on a harder mode it's like the challenge you should equally increase, like your attacks do more damage but the enemies get faster, as opposed to the enemies are just stronger. Which is always the balance between in video games. It's like, how do we make this game super difficult for people without the effect of enemies are stronger, your health decreases more? Which is basically how I haven't got far enough into God of War, Give Me God of War mode to know if they've like scaled it up, like you just take more damage as opposed to the enemies are, you know, faster. Because some games do it, the enemies can do more advanced moves from the beginning of the game. For example, I think Devil May Cry did this, and Devil May Cry the older ones are very good at hack and slash. I completed. It took me 2 years of my life to complete Devil May Cry 4 on the hardest difficulty possible. I say 2 years because I played it for about 6 months and went, nah, I'm putting this down because I can only get halfway through the game. I was like, nah, I can't. It's really just tearing me apart. And then I came back like a year later, something like 2 years it took me to sit and get through this.
I think I would think that it would be like the Queen of the Valkyrie fight. It would be like your strikes cause much less damage and the bar is much longer. Like the what's it called?
The health bar.
Yeah. Of your enemies.
Yeah, I would imagine that they just get, and they do more unblockable moves as well. Like a lot of them.
Oh yeah, something that you need to dodge or you need to learn like their
patterns.
Yeah. But it would be like the monsters that you see all the time would be a little bit like that.
Yeah, or they would be higher levels quicker. Because in the game because I remember early on, because this is where me and Yann differ. I go off and do everything in the game. I'm like, right, I'm going to get the most out of this. Enjoy everything, then I'll come back to the story as I go along, as opposed to complete the game and then do the side quests afterwards. There's a side quest at pretty early on where you can go off to try and destroy a statue and avenge this spirit. You get to the island and like the enemies are like level 3, 4, and at this point in the story you're like level 1 or 2, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep going until I beat this, and I kept getting it handed to me. I imagine the game would more or less feel like that. Like the enemies are much higher level than you immediately off the bat.
For the first year, I went for the story, but for the second one, because I figured that, if you start with a higher difficulty, you really need to make sure you upgrade your gear quite fast get more and more. So I actually got all the apples for the health bar quite. Like I was hunting them like crazy. The rage also chalices, and so
the blood horns.
I think yes, I'm full on both because I know in the resources you know the number of stuff you have because it's not displayed on my heads up display, so I know I have full thing. But the only issue that I found out, you can play the immersive mode. The sound is designed in a way that Atreus, Kratos' son, warns him every time there is an attack coming from behind or wherever. He does that audio, you don't have the red and the orange warnings, visual.
Oh, right, okay.
Except with the two brothers fight, because there is no other way to know. It's in the fog, so there is no other way to know. But the thing is, I haven't found how you can know when you're full rage without actually having the bar.
No, I don't think that's possible either.
I'm pressing constantly. Okay, now. No, not now. Okay.
Yeah, that move does get you out a lot of scrapes in that game. Where your rage meter, because it regens your health at the same time, and you're just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I was wondering if they had and introduced regen stat in the game, but they do actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, towards when you start to get higher and get those stats on your gear. I think we can say goodbye to our Facebook friends now. So thank you for listening on Facebook. We are live streaming those on YouTube and listed for Patreons every time. So if you go on patreon.com/goodbadstandardpodcast, that's us. And if you want to listen that later because you're skin or whatever,
you just don't like us.
Yeah, you just don't like us. I have a few notes.
All right, go for it.
Oh yeah, so we talked in the network episode. We didn't develop that, but it's if you've seen the Brian Cranston platform talk, he talks about how he passed on Spotlight because he didn't see any conflict. But he actually realized when it got out, the film, that it didn't have any conflict, but it worked because it had a tremendous amount of impediments. That's how I put it. Mm-hmm. In this one, there's a tremendous amount of impediments because the original idea was just to bring the ashes of the wife mother to the highest peak in all the 9 realms. And every time they tried to do that, there was something that was preventing that. Either it was some stranger, tattooed guy, or it was just that the peak that they were going for was not the highest one, or there was always something.
Yeah, it was very well done, actually.
It reminded me a lot of Alien Isolation, for those who haven't played that game. Very much feels like you get to a goal post and then the game moves the posts just a little bit further along, constantly. To the point at the end of in the last 20, 30 minutes of the game, you're just like, come on, give this girl a break.
I know, it's just pretty tough to watch, poor thing.
Yeah. That might be one of the toughest experiences possible, the Alien Isolation on its hardest difficulty. Because you barely get any resources. And it's not like Dead Space. Dead Space had this really weird thing where it was like, yeah, you have to complete the whole game, with only 3 save points. And I think there was 20 odd chapters in the game. So you're like, right, I have to strategically place where I'm going to put a save. Because there's a section in the game at the very end where you get onto the final zone and they introduce these enemies that can't be killed. So you're like, if I save at the start of here, this is my last save. And if I die and get to the final boss fight, I'm going to get sent all the way back here. That's how grim that experience is. I know people that cheated to do that achievement because I think that's the only way they can do it, which is you shut off the game. Oh. When you save and it doesn't register that you used the save. And then you log back in and you've got it safe. Yeah, or something to do with the hard drive. You can you quickly pull out.
There was a big thing like this when Diablo
saves you every time.
when Diablo 3 came out. So with the Diablo 2, you could use physical save files.
Yeah.
But now that on Diablo 3, all the saves are on Battle.net, just like World of Warcraft, or you can't do any cheating on the computer, but you can. Playing with the saves again on the PS4 and PS3.
All right, cool.
You can Hellfire amulets and rings, craft them I
think we should talk about the narrative of this game, story wise. The basic story is that you are going to scatter your mother's ashes, who dies off screen at the beginning of the game.
Wives.
Well, yeah, wife and mother, and then it's just kind of like a really strange version of Stand By Me. Any response to that, Anouk?
Great. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
I just mean like
I think I've heard that somewhere.
it feels like it's a journey. It's a very messed up mythology of Stand By Me.
Yeah, it is actually. Because you're following Kratos, so but I guess you have Atreus's different mood swings and like he has a journey as well. So he's not just someone that's there to help you out in like in combat. He actually has a story, and also he makes things difficult for you, as in Kratos, because once he finds out that he's a god, he then goes off on his own. And so he'll, usually you tell him to use his crossbow. And then when he's having like a bit of a moment, he'll like use it without your control. Bow and arrow, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. So in that sense, yes, because you could kind of say, oh, maybe next time you could have Atreus and his friends go on a journey.
All the little god children.
Yeah, exactly.
Godlings.
Yeah.
We talked about characterization a bit. Well, we didn't develop, but in the Jumanji episode, we talked about how there was no characterization.
Yeah.
Within the first 20 minutes, yeah, like the very 2D characters, yeah.
And here, I like, the way that the attitude that Atreus develops when he learns he's a god.
Well, you spend half of the game thinking that's going to be the conflict of, obviously, Kratos has to tell his son that you're a god, and you think that's going to be the thing that, like, splits them apart. But it twists your what you think the story is going to be away from you. It's like, no, we're not doing that.
No, it basically Atreus basically just becomes a brat and then is humbled.
Yeah, whatever. Is dead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying whatever to me. I was like, oh, sorry, I'm shut up then.
No.
Mansplaining.
No, that wasn't mansplaining.
We'll get into one of the reasons why I think that's what happens to Atreus when we talk about the twist at the end of the game. Because there's very much opinions like, oh, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I knew. Do you want to talk about your favorite character in the whole game?
The world snake.
Yeah, the world serpent.
The world serpent.
The world serpent is the sweetest thing in the world. It's just this long, massive, beautiful serpent, who no one understands. I think that's just great.
Except the Scottish guy.
Who was in another realm, and his body was part of a tree, so he couldn't move, and that was his punishment for whatever he did. I didn't really understand that part of the.
Well, the real mythology, because Yann read it to me the other day, is that it's quite funny. He's basically Odin's like advisor,
right?
And then Odin cuts off his head and takes his head around for information with him, like Kratos does. So they took that idea from the mythology and went, right, let's stick Mimir's head onto Kratos so he can be like they give you more lore in the game.
Right. But what does he do to Odin for that to be his punishment?
I think isn't it because he knows a lot of stuff?
Too much.
He knows too much.
Because he exists.
Probably, yeah.
There are 17 chapters in this game, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 1, the marked trees.
Right.
Yeah, the marked trees. Then Path to the Mountain, chapter 2. Then A Realm Beyond, chapter 3.
Oh, the game, the main story quests are the chapters, yeah?
Yeah, because when I restarted it in Balanced, I was trying always to know, okay, where am I now with regard to the end, so I can know, because I wandered a lot, and but when I checked, I was like 10 or 7. It was like still 10 to go.
Yeah, it's quite a long game. I mean, and there's so much that happens.
Here's the Wikipedia entry for Mimir. Mimir, Old Norse, the remembered, the wise one, or Mim, is a figure in Norse mythology renowned for his knowledge and wisdom, who is beheaded during the Aesir-Vanir War. Afterwards, the god Odin carries it around Mimir's head, and it recites secret knowledge and counsel to him.
Right, okay. And I'm guessing he just knows too much and that's why he becomes a tree.
I think he's just in this version of the game, he's imprisoned in the tree.
By Odin?
By Odin, yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay, there were some journalists who asked a question to Corey Barlog, who was the director, who was the question was considered quite rude because they were wondering if Kratos eventually becomes Jormungandr.
Oh.
Who?
That's the world serpent.
Oh, because Atreus is apparently the world serpent's son.
No? What?
Didn't we read that somewhere? There was like a connection between the world serpent and Atreus. And that's
Oh, in the game, there's a bit where the world serpent says he recognizes you from somewhere.
Oh yeah, and
Yes.
then Mimir's like, oh, they see something, and then Mimir's like, oh, maybe that's why the world serpent recognized you.
Well, because it was also brought up in the game that the world serpent was kicked back to its own birth. So it's actually from the future. So
Yeah.
that's why it recognizes you.
Right, and I'm not really sure how it becomes. I don't know. Yeah. So, but why was it seemed as rude?
No, because it was asking for future games when the guy would just spend 5 years making the best thing,
You could possibly make. Yeah.
and so
I know
like
what you
asking
mean.
right away, like, oh, we want more. Yeah, I know.
That's the world we live in, though. Now it's like we're never happy. It's like, and I mean, we felt that in the review that we saw yesterday. Heard yesterday on YouTube. I don't know the YouTuber, and I obviously before he was like, if you don't like it, then like fuck off, and it was just like, all right, mate, angry much. But he was basically saying that it's not connected to the other films, the other games, and so I don't like it.
I think-
and there's too much that has changed, and so either you. But then we've also had the other side where it's like nothing changed enough, which I think was the reviews on BioShock.
That's actually a very good point.
So it's either you change too much or you don't change enough, and it's like you can never make the two sides happy.
So what? Yeah, that's quite a good comparison. You're talking about the change from BioShock 2 to 1, or are you talking the change from BioShock Infinite from BioShock?
Oh, it's the Infinite, yeah.
So BioShock 2 just suffered the fact that BioShock 1 was so successful, they're like, can we get another one? And then another one came out, and it was people were like, this is too much of the same thing. So it was a sequel made by not the same development team. It was an off branch of 2K. It was a different division because 2K have locations in different parts of the world. I'd have to look up who did BioShock 2. I think it's 2K Melbourne. I want to say it's Melbourne, but I could be wrong.
I'll look it up. But sorry, I think this was between 1 and 2 because it was the same game in a way. Like there wasn't enough changed. Obviously, I'm not a gamer, so I didn't play it. But story-wise, it seeed very similar and it was very connected. But with this one, they were like, "Oh, it's not the same game. Like I hate it. Like he had a problem with the fact that when you're like going up a wall, rock
Climbing, essentially.
climbing, thank you. Climbing. There's no like you can't get attacked. It's like part of the story. It's almost like he basically wanted combat all the time and hated the fact that there was so much story it actually was like a film.
This is This is the thing with God of War, because God of War, all of the previous ones, like even the PSP extensions like Ascension and Chains of Olympus, all these other games are a different style to what this game is. This is no longer a hack and slash series. They've brought a character that you couldn't really sympathize with and made him like a really the argument is he complex in the sense of like he doesn't really do anything, he's like one noted. I'm like, no, he's complex because he can't emote anymore. Like the events of the previous games exist. This game is not a total recore reboot. Like it's a carry on. Carry on of an extension to the franchise that we left a while ago.
And you get your Chaos Blades halfway through because Atreus, he got sick when, maybe because his dad never told the dad of war never told him he was a god too, so he had to go to Helheim to retrieve the heart of the guardian of the bridge, but he couldn't use the Leviathan axe because it's not working on the Hellwalkers. So he got back home and retrieved his blade of chaos blades.
Yeah. And that you see the connection between father and son. Like, I think it's completely complex because to make someone who is only doing his duty all the time can never have emotions, obviously, because you're never able to do what you want, right? So to have someone always do his duty and then become this person which is like, I don't have emotions and has a really deep voice.
Boy.
Yeah.
It's actually great that they went with Christopher Judge, because you would know him from Stargate SG-1.
He's the guy with the gold thing on his forehead, which I've always remembered from childhood.
Yeah.
That's the way that I thought of it.
There's
a Stargate reference in the game.
Oh?
When you get up to the mountain, Atreus says something to you and Kratos just replies with "Indeed," which is what his character says all the time. And
yes, it was. It's funny because when you look at pictures online, Instagram, it's this like massive black guy with a huge smile on his face, and here or on Stargate SG-1, it was just always bland. That's the character. So that, but it's funny there, the contrary. And it's it's a Kratos or a Teal'c, the same kind of guys.
Yeah, he has an amazing voice. It's incredible.
Yeah, he went deeper for this one because it's still deep in the Stargate, but here it's like
really deep. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, they really went for an age thing with Kratos. Because the original voice actor for Kratos has it's still deep, but it's sort of more, I am angry, come get some, sort of thing. And I think they needed somebody with a bit of gravitas to do the story well.
Distinct. They want you to connect with them, so it's not just all about like killing monsters. It's also about this man has feelings and he's a lot more complicated than that.
Which is a very good thing because the combat system in this game is good, but it's not amazing.
Well, I only realized after almost 40 hours of playing that there is a way to lock and unlock enemies, which makes sense. Obviously, you must have that, but I was always like trying to escape and couldn't because I was locked. And then I said, R3. Yes. Oh, God, Jesus.
Yeah. I feel a lot of the game, you're just doing light, heavy attacks. Like you'll get power-ups that you can do moves. And eventually, if you play the game enough and you go and do all the side quests, you get these ones that are like, oh, these are great. And when you realize what they do, you're like, these are amazing. But the basic moveset that you have at the beginning of the game, it's a real challenge the start of the game. Like, it's not easy when you don't have these moves. You're like, oh God, I'm getting it handed to me. Now, I guess if you want to go for a narrative structure, it's like he's going back to his old ways. He's not training anymore. He's now this older man. But having it in a gameplay sense, it's still it's clunky. I mean, I haven't played the original God of War, so I can't make a direct comparison. But the combat is rewarding, and there is a great feel to like throwing down your axe and like cutting a guy in half, which is great. But the move set that you unlock is like, okay, it is challenging. Like it's a bit over complex at points. As in the sense of like you get so many moves and you're like, I'm never gonna use this. Like you'll unlock stuff and you're like, how do I use that? And then once you eventually figure out how to do it, you're like, oh, all right, okay. I don't need to spend so much time unlocking this move. I'm just going to stick with what I've been doing for the rest of the game.
I think I've used the runic thingy just twice, and the talisman I always forget. I used it once, I think. But on the balanced, mostly evaded every time something was coming. The first Valkyrie that I ventured to go destroy was on that difficulty.
In story mode, right? Or did you?
No, the story mode, I met one. I was slaughtered in 2 seconds, so I just left. In the second one, I knew that I had better gear and I knew what I was doing. I wasn't expecting it to be one which was spawning joggers, but it was, and I survived, and that was a 5-minute fight.
So if we're going to talk about the Valkyries, I defeated all of them, all 9, and it's not easy. It's really not easy. The only annoying thing is that by the time you get to the final, the queen, and beat her, you get all this stuff. You're like, I'm done with the game. I'm like, I've done everything that I need to do to get to this point. And it does feel like the final boss fight. Like, it feels rewarding because the final one can do any of the moves that you've previously done. So this is the thing with all of the Valkyrie fights. They're not necessarily difficult fights once you know what their movesets are and how you counter everything. It's just having the patience and the tactical use of the combat system. So it feels rewarding. Like, you don't feel every death, you're like, I wasn't cheated there, you know?
Yeah, I don't remember what I wanted to say, but I really, my heart was racing, and it was just the middle, if you don't count Give Me God of War, but it was kind of a middle difficulty, balanced. And I really enjoyed myself, and not dying that was my point. The fact that you don't have the heads-up display, so it's a good thing because when you're dying, you don't know how close you were to winning. But you have to be, you just keep fighting until you rip that head off.
The wings, Yeah. I feel the only other thing I kind of want to say, because this is the difficult thing about talking about a video game without like playing the game at the same time. It's so tough to discuss everything you want to say without having the visual cue to go, oh yeah, this inspires me to talk about that. Which is why at some point I think me and Anouk will talk about this game again. And Yann probably. We could all be there while playing it on Give Me God of War mode. Yeah,
well, with the camera, you can activate because if you want the whole story without, like, if you were watching a film on our YouTube channel, you have that. One of the streams that I did, which is I think 8 parts, is just the game without the immersive game. So if you want, you can just watch that. But we probably should do the one with so we'll have on one corner our faces with the camera.
Yeah.
And, because the camera has a microphone also, so it will pick up everything.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll do that for discussing the whole game at length. The only thing I want to say right now is that the game gives you so many hints at where the franchise is going. It's clear that they have plans, and I'm just glad that this game is doing well, that we're going to get them. I would feel gutted if this is the only entry we got.
Yeah, because you'd quite like to fight Thor.
Yeah.
Or Odin, and like the last scene, you see Thor, well, his hammer.
Thor turns up at your shack.
house.
Secret.
Yeah, at your shack. Yeah, literally it's a shack. And so, and I think we've heard that quite a lot of people are angry at that you didn't get to in this one. But I think literally, I really think that's instant gratification. It's like, oh, you're teasing me so much. Like, I just want to, that will be next. And you don't want to wait. You just want it now. And it's like, well, actually, I quite like the fact that that's something that's coming. So you have something to look forward to. And that's the next thing, because there's so much information in this game. I feel like if you cut any of it so that you can fight Thor, you lose something.
Well, here's an example of one of the things that Kratos did in the God of War series. Two things. I watched a video this morning. It was like 6 messed up things even for Kratos to do. And the 2 I remember are, so you fight Ares the messenger in God of War 3, and you like his boots. So instead of just taking them off, you mutilate him by cutting both of his legs off and then taking the shoes. And also, you come across Icarus, who has escaped Hades by making these he's an old man now by having these wings. And instead of like just getting him to carry you across, you like kick him back in and like rip off the wings, and he falls past Atlas into Hades. Like all this shit that Kratos has done, right?
Gosh.
And even like fighting Zeus in the previous game, I think people expected to be like, oh, we're going to fight Thor, we're going to fight Odin, we're going to fight... And I will say that game really does hint that you're going to fight Odin. Like, it really hints up that, Odin's a bad guy, you need to deal with him.
But that's next.
That's next. This wasn't that story. I think that's the ultimate thing. This was a story about respecting a dying woman's wish and a father and son journey. There was no need in a narrative sense for that to be there. And you have to begin to think, it's like, if somebody's making a game for gameplay's sake, then yes, they should probably have put it in. But they had a clear idea that they were going for a narrative thing. So, and they decided to say, no, we're going to hold that for the next time. You're right.
Yeah, I think they wanted to get you to have a connection with Kratos and Atreus, and their like relationship, and also just so the next few games that come out, you have a connection with the characters. It's not just like, I'm going to kill a monster. It's like, oh, I care about what actually happens with these two people.
Yeah,
I also quite like it that we didn't fight Thor and Odin because you get more strong women characters, which I'm always a massive fan of.
That's the other thing. The final boss of the next game isn't going to be Thor or Odin. I bet if anything's right, this is a 3-parter, right? Maybe the last game you fight Odin, but the second game you probably fight Thor, and you're probably going to fight Freya.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're probably going to fight. Spoiler: at the end of the game, you kill her son for good, and she's like, "I'm going to just totally destroy you."
Rain every agony. Yeah.
Oof, it's
and the
tough.
other thing you only get if you beat all the Valkyries. The Queen Valkyrie reveals that I'm not actually the Queen of the Valkyries. Freya is the only Queen of the Valkyries, and you're just like, oh fuck. Like, and I've just killed her son, so that's going to be fun for the next couple of games.
Yeah. Who is an asshole?
Oh yeah, totally.
You get hints about who Baldur is related to Freya all the way through. Sometimes she's like, I'll take care of Atreus. This is a mother's promise. And so that's one of the first... Yeah, well, because when you're a mother, I'm pretty convinced... I'll never be a mother, but I'm pretty convinced that whatever your son is doing, it's still your son.
Yeah.
So...
I had a bit of a problem with this because I was like, your son is an asshole. Why do you care so much? And then the two boys... Like, I should be the one who's all, like, motherly. And then the two boys are like, that's her son. She's a mother. I was like, okay, I'm a bitch.
Heartless
yeah.
bitch.
I was like, I'm sorry, guys. And actually, you do feel sorry for Baldur as well, because he basically, by being overly protective and loving, she basically takes away his pain, but basically
everything.
Then he can't feel at all. And I feel like anyone who can't feel will probably become an asshole as well. And he's so angry with her, like he needs to kill her. So,
well, the reason that he was coming after us is we don't super know, but I think it's heavily hinted that Odin told him that if you get to Jotunheim, that's where your cure will be, and that'll give you feeling back. So he's like, right, I'm going to take out these two people. Or Odin sent him to kill us,
if you kill them, I will give you your feeling back.
Oh no, other way. Sorry. So your mom, he doesn't know that the mother's dead, does he? Because he comes looking for.
Yes, yeah, he comes looking for
the mom. Because obviously the mom is the last giant.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
sugar.
that's what you get in the last scene. When you're in Jotunheim. Yes.
And then therefore he's coming for Atreus, because Atreus is now the final giant, which is an excellent little hint in the game where they're like in the mountain for the first time, and Kratos is like, there is no way a giant could get through these halls. And Atreus just starts laughing. He's like, "What, boy?" He's like, "Giants just the race. They're not always big."
Yeah. It's just.
So I'm a little giant.
If you look in the MCU, Loki is supposed to be half giant, and is most of the giants there, frost giants, are normal size.
They called me Loki, and we were all just like, "Wait, what?"
We were like, "Oh no,
oh no." I do know that in Norse mythology, Loki is god of mischief, and so he basically makes everyone hate him. He's like the trickster god, and so they basically take his son's entrails and capture him and tie him on a rock.
Who are they tying on a rock? Loki's on the rock.
Yeah, so Atreus, but Loki in Norse mythology, and basically have a snake over him, and it just drips poison into his open wound, but his wife loves him so much that she goes with him and holds a bowl over it, but every time it overfills, she has to take it away, and then that's when he is in agony because she has to put the poison away and then has to come back. And that was what I was thinking that the last, when Kratos is like, yes, we will, Atreus like runs away, and that's the last thing that Kratos sees on the wall. He sees Kratos on the floor lying down, either dead or like, his organs have come out and all that stuff. And Loki or Atreus is over him, but out of his mouth is a snake. So they're probably going to use that.
Oh, I thought it was a symbolization of him crying, but yeah, it looked a bit like a snake indeed.
Yeah, it was like he was becoming a snake. But then also that could be a connection to the world serpent. I mean,
The thing is, with God of War, they've always played fast and loose with the mythology. Like, they make it their own.
So I'll have a Loki on the rocks and an orange juice, please. Something quite extraordinary that is only possible nowadays with the very high quality. So we played in 4K. Well, it's fake 4K, but still it's 2160.
HDR, HDR.
Yeah, HDR. And there's something that you couldn't do. I've noted at one point, is it Brock? You can see him actually eating some steak, and you can see the bit of steak in his mouth.
Oh.
Like 3 years ago. In
The previous PS.
Yeah, you could, yeah. And the filmmaking aspect, focus pulling. In the scene when Kratos is, I am a god boy. Like there is the canoe and you can see like he's in front. It's kind of a deep two or whatever, and the focus pulls and gets from one to another. I don't. That's the kind of thing you couldn't really do like 2 or 3 years back. On it's really like what they do in movies.
Yeah. It did feel like I was watching a film.
We will discuss this more as we play it at some point, but I think we'll leave it for a while, let myself cool off from the game, and then we'll jump back in.
Yeah.
I do have one theory that I'm going to throw out now, and we'll probably throw out more when we do the live stream, is I want to say that Kratos is Ragnarok.
Oh.
Like, the whole game is hinting that Ragnarok is coming. I'm like, I reckon that Kratos is the actual Ragnarok.
They do bring Surtur when you're in Muspelheim. At some point there is a panel when he appears. He's supposed to be the one, well, in the MCU, bringing, or I don't know.
That's because you do the hidden trials. They're like the arena, because every game has to have the arena combat stage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because obviously that's when Thor dies, and quite a lot of the gods die in Ragnarok. Thor's supposed to die. I think Loki's supposed to die too, but so that might be something that they play with.
Okay.
I had one last. I said that I really only cared about the story on this one. There is another one which is also open world that I really enjoyed before that, which revolutionized Nintendo when they introduced the Switch. Zelda Breath of the Wild. We haven't talked about this one.
Play that, yeah.
When you play in immersive mode, you don't have the HUD, but you don't have either the compass. So out of necessity, I had to explore and go find all the things possible. I think in Zelda it's kind of the same also. So I kept most of the time jumping around and discovering stuff, and ended up doing the actual campaign, which is called here in God of War the Journey. You get from one part of the journey to another. I'll probably continue down the chapters and see if it inspires you things, and then we can.
All right, cool, yeah.
So chapter 4, the Light of Alfheim.
That was a bit Anouk missed. You missed that whole section of the game.
That's when you're introduced with those flying buggers. Like there's annoying monsters.
The elves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Inside the mountain.
Yeah.
That's when you go.
Do you fight the dragon?
Yeah.
That's the other thing I wanted to say is the lack of. They need to get more. If they're going to do another one, we need more boss types. I mean, we did fight the troll. The big massive rock about 8 times. Although they were different trolls, and they each had their own entry. I'm like, come on, can we have something just a tiny bit different?
A new destination. I think that's after you realize that it's not the highest peak.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you have to go to the next one, which is the magic chisel.
Yes.
Yeah.
That giant, it took me, it's so funny. I didn't realize at first that it was an actual giant. And you have to enter by using his ring that you have to turn.
Yeah.
It's like behind the lock. Yeah, the sickness.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
The black rune.
Yeah.
Return to the summit.
Then you fight Baldur again, briefly.
Yeah, and because you're an asshole, you destroy the only gateway to Jotunheim that you believe at the time. Escape from Helheim. A path to Jotunheim. 14, a realm between the realms. So you jump into where you're told a few times never to stray from that path. Jotunheim in reach, yes. We're there. 16, Mother's Ashes. And the Journey Home.
Oh, yeah.
Which is that you get the secret ending.
Yeah.
With
Yeah. Pretty concise.
Lovely.
Oh, yeah. One last thing. Do you have plans to make a tattoo on this?
I said to Nick the other day, I'm like, the only tattoo I'd ever consider getting is actually on the PS4 controller. That one there. It's the symbol. It's the thing the two dwarfs have.
Oh, this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because the Cory Balog, the director, he has this here.
Oh, does he?
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, I can't do it now because somebody else has it. It's not original.
Oh, that.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I would never do it anyway. I'm an actor. I'm like, I don't have anywhere I could hide it.
Yeah, well, I've seen some. They have Kratos' face here on the.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, how do you call that? The forearm? No.
Yeah, that's a forearm.
Forearm,
Forearm,
yes. Like, okay, and smiling.
Tricep.
Yeah, I don't like faces on people. I think it doesn't look good.
I would say I'll really surprise my mom and just get the Kratos lines on my body.
Yes.
Over the eye.
I'm in a good mood, boy.
I'm in a good mood.
Boy, B-O-Y. B-O-I, boy. Boy.
Boy.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Next time you'll see and hear will probably be on YouTube or Twitch. I tried yesterday. I actually got Fortnite.
Oh God.
Yes, I am trying that. It's quite brutal, but when I'm hiding in corners, so I can, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to become a Fortnite channel.
No, it's not.
It's not for. I don't think it's for us.
No. But it's quite funny. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
And we can probably go into the rating.
Yeah. So, Anouk, Yann, was God of War or Dad of Boy good, bad, or just plain standard? Anouk,
It was really good. Yeah.
Yann.
Was good, and for me, with a phenomenal flair.
Oh, the flares. Yes.
Definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah, this is a very high good. I'll have to give it a couple of... I'll wait until I've played it on Give Me God of War mode before I decide on if it's the best thing I've ever played. It's up there. I think The Witcher is currently up as the top. The Witcher is definitely the best thing I've played in a long time, so it's between these two. Yeah. Good. All right.
So thank you again for listening.
Yeah.
Thank
we're
you.
approaching 6,000.
By the time people hear this, we'll have reached 6,000. We're very close.
So exciting.
When we release I, Tonya, this will date this episode. When I, Tonya comes out, we'll probably get just over that.
Yep.
Yeah, Tonya is coming. Yeah. We're releasing that tomorrow, which when you will be listening to this episode won't be tomorrow anymore, but yeah. Except if you're a patron and watching live now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Next episode we're recording will be Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
With a guest. Thank you again for listening. We'll see you around, and don't forget to check, because even for non-patrons we post some pictures and warnings from time to time, because, as you should. And Instagram everywhere, Good Bad Standard or Good Bad Standard Podcast. It really depends on the service. And so we were
Adam.
Anouk.
and Yann. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.